This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Gerasch and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
Hi, I'm Tony Gerasch.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
Hey, John, are you responsible? Hey, Tony, are you responsible? Who's responsible for what? That's weird, right?
Yeah.
So, shared responsibility is an very important aspect of NIST 800-171 and CMMC compliance. But let's kind of look at that more on a managed services side of what we do for our clients and who's responsible for who. What if a client brings in their own IT admin after we've been managing them for a while? Where does that co-managed situation do with responsibility? What changes? Where is the risk? Who assumes the risk? Tony, let's just go to your thoughts.
Yeah. So just before we start out here, we IT guys always throw out these acronyms. So I just want to let you guys know that CMMC stands for Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Okay. So people who do work with the Department of Defense, that do work with NASA and Boeing and all these big, secret things. I don't know what they want to call them, but they're going to have to become what they call CMMC certified. And one of the things they talk about in there is shared responsibility, right? So in this model, it actually has talks in depth about shared responsibility, like who's responsible for everything. So today, I was reading this and kind of consuming what does it mean to have shared responsibility? And I said, Ryan, we should talk about shared responsibility as it comes from, us as the IT provider and, you as the customer.
Yeah.
Right. So, we can dive right into, who's responsible for what, right? And I don't know. I'll just ask you, Ryan, who do you think is responsible? And then I'll tell you who I think is responsible.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because as an IT guy, I always felt I was the responsible party. Even when I was just a technician in the IT tech industry, I always felt like it was our responsibility to make sure everything worked and did what it did and all that stuff. But, as I've got to become a business owner, that's kind of had a little twist to it, change. And, Tony, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, well, in reality, the business owner is the person responsible, not us. Yes, they hire us, right? You guys hire us, and you're expecting us to do everything that we say we're going to do, right? And you're expecting us to do that. But in the end, it's your business. You're really the person responsible, right? You need, and I welcome this. I do IT business reviews all the time. You need to, make sure that your IT service provider or your internal IT guys, it does not just, when you have things outsourced, or that internal guy is doing what he says he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
100%, you need to make sure of that, right? So you need to make sure that your backups are working. Yes, we're responsible for checking them. We do check them, right? But you're responsible for saying, if we offer it to you, hey, do you want to do a disaster recovery test? You're responsible for saying, yeah, let's do that, and then testing it. I'm not responsible for testing it. Because, that's an additional fee for us. You're responsible to make sure that everything that you're paying for is on those computers. Mm-hmm. Now, we obviously have the responsibility, too, of doing that and monitoring those and stuff. But in the end, it's a shared responsibility. I mean, people make mistakes. You need to also be involved in your IT. And I'm talking business owners, right? Small businesses, they need to be involved. You need to be involved to make sure you're getting what you pay for.
And a small piece of that cake is make sure that you're going to the business reviews that say Tony's giving, because he is going to tell you everything that we're doing and prove to you that we're doing it. And that's going to help you as a business owner know how smooth your business is running.
Yeah. And so, again, when I do these IT business reviews, and sometime soon Ryan and other people will be doing them, at that time, I take that time, because I am technical. I'm not just a business owner. I take that time to go through everything that that is on your invoice and what you're paying for, and go through it and just make sure that it's actually there, right? Make sure that that your backups are working, not just your backups for your servers and stuff like that, but your Microsoft 365 backups. I go through and make sure that you're doing the training. A lot of people say they want training, but they don't do it. Is it my responsibility to chase them down if the people aren't doing it, or is it your responsibility?
Right. Exactly.
In those things there. So, there is a shared responsibility. Just because you hired somebody like us, in the end, it's your business and it's your brand, right? And on our side, it's our job, Ryan and mine, is to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make sure that we are doing everything that we say we are doing.
Yeah, and what you're doing right now is driving good boundaries between the business owner and the MSP themselves of who's responsible for what.
Right. So, at the people at the top, right? And, we're at the top, right? Ryan and I are at the top, right? But, there's a lot of MSPs that just have account managers, right? And they're doing IT business reviews, but they're more focused on trying to sell more stuff. Mm-hmm. When I do these things, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'll tell you that we now have Keeper Security and why. I'll talk about Copilot, right? I talk about the price increase coming from Microsoft, but I'm not there to sell you anything, right? I'm there to tell you, right, that here's the age of your computers, right? You may want to start thinking about it. You may want to start budgeting for it. You got 5 years on a computer. It might last 2 more years, but you need to be ready to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's your responsibility, not my responsibility to update your computers. It's your responsibility to say, yeah, I think it's time. Can we get some quotes and do this?
Yeah, and that shared responsibility also has benefits to it. It's not us just saying you're supposed to do this and we're supposed to do that. The benefit is it gives that comfort of who does what, who works on what. You should be working on your business, which is your responsibility, and we should be working on it, making sure those computers are maintained and doing their job.
Yeah. And then like in the CMMC model, if I read it right, it says that the person getting certified is responsible for their making sure that all the controls and everything in place are being done, right? The MSP is providing those things. But if we get certified, then we're going to be responsible to make sure that we're doing our stuff and that our vendors, right, Kaseya and Huntress and ThreatLocker and DNS Filter and all these other vendors that we use are doing their part to protect their company. And if everybody does that shared responsibility all the way down the line, then you're going to be secure.
And you just led me right to my tip of the week, which is consider a shared responsibility matrix, which shows who's responsible for what. What vendors, like for us, are responsible for what they do and how they are completing it. And then you got to have certain things to be compliant with the cybersecurity maturity model.
Yeah.
Things along those lines that you have to do. And we'll put in that shared matrix, to make sure that they're U.S. based or different items there. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that we need to touch on, right, is you don't have to be a 100-person company, right? You don't have to be a huge company. I mean, you can do these things with just a 2 or 3 person company. You just have to put some time to it and work with your vendors, right? Work with your MSP, work with us. We'll help you get there. Hey, what do you think I should be doing? If we can take, if we look at like the CIS framework, if we can check off one framework, a quarter, we're getting better, right? Sometimes we have acceptable risk. I understand that, right? But still, we share that responsibility. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this, but hey, I got to do this. I can't afford it. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. But if you can just do one of those things, each one of those frameworks, if you can just check off one a quarter, I mean, that's great.
That's perfect. And if you need help, comment.
Yeah, comment here. And again, if you're, just watching us to get ideas of what you should be doing because you're a new business owner, again, ask questions. We will answer your questions if we get them. We're not going to charge you. We're not going to bill you. You're going to say, oh, you have to sign up for a contract to get these answers. We'll answer your questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Even when it comes to CMMC and DFARS and whatever, NIST 171-800, whatever all these numbers are. I mean, if you're searching for it and you find us and you have questions, give us a call.
Yep, and
we'll text us.
Yep, and we'll definitely help. Always
Absolutely.
there to help. We always say that every episode. We are here to help you, the business owner. And a quick recap. What is a shared responsibility? It's what we're doing between the business owner and us as the IT provider. And just remember, you are always responsible business owner of your business. We have a shared responsibility. We have boundaries, and we have different benefits with that too, as who works on what. So
yeah, and I always tell Ryan Carter, I like my salary, right? So I tell Ryan all the time, I like my salary. We need to fix this. We need to make sure that we're doing this, and both of us, right? Because one security breach and you could be out of business.
Out of business.
Yep. Right. Your reputation's gone. You're going to be all over the internet. Nobody's going to want to go if you're an eye doc. Doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of people are shaking it off. Oh, they get hacked all the time. But it's getting to a point where people are saying, okay, this is preventable, and we just need to find a different place.
Yep. And I know we're famous internet podcasters and stuff, and we're so busy doing this and traveling the world. But yeah, we do pay attention to what's going on in the security world to make sure those things don't happen to us. Because again, we don't want to lose our business. We like our paychecks.
Yeah. And I know, not everybody's doing everything. I know a bank that's not secure, but I ain't going to say anything.
Yeah, me neither. Not going to say their name out loud.
Well, thank you guys. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in to the Business Owners IT Podcast, and I hope to see you next week.
Well, we'll see you next week where we complain a little bit. We talk about some of the challenges as MSPs we're having with you, business owners.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Unique Computing Solutions. Your IT challenges solved.